What's good, people? It's Joshua from Joshua Chubb Photography, back again with another video. And to be honest, this is a video I did not think that I would be making, but here I am. I have so many thoughts about the Fujifilm system, their cameras, their lenses, the direction that they're going. Maybe I'll make subsequent videos. If you guys want to see it, just let me know about what I'm about to tell you. So basically, I've decided that the Fujifilm system and I part ways, and that really pains me to say. I'm not going to go and do a super deep dive into why, but basically over the past few months, I've been having the urge to go back to full frame. I was shooting on Sony before I switched over to Fuji back in 2018, and basically the time has come for me to go back. And I wanted to do a video. I've already sold my X-T3. For those of you who've seen my review on it, I love that camera. Literally my favorite camera that I've used of all time, even more so than this new camera that I'm going to show you. But I'm about to pack up my 35mm 1.4, and this is, in my opinion, the jewel of the X system. I'm going to miss this lens. I really am. I always told myself, as long as I have a Fujifilm interchangeable lens camera, that I would have this lens. But my X-T3 is gone, and so it is time for this guy to go to a new owner, who we've talked, and I know he's going to love this lens. I could almost cry. I could almost cry right now. So we're going to box this guy up. I got some styrofoam peanuts over here. We'll make sure that it gets to him safely. He's in Guam. The guy's in Guam right now. So it has a long way to travel. So definitely want to make sure that it gets to him safely. But yeah, so I sold my X-T3. And I bought a new camera. Before I show you what that new camera is, I do want to let y'all know that it is not the end of the line for me in Fujifilm. I still will have one camera. It's just not an interchangeable lens camera. My plan was, when I sold the X-T3, I sold off like my 18mm 1.4 already. I sold off my 90mm f2. The plan was for me to keep the XE4 along with the 18mm f2 and the 35mm 1.4, because I love that both of these lenses use a 52mm filter thread, so I could easily swap NDs in my black Pro Mist filter, and they both have like the square hood. The only lenses that I know of, the older ones for Fuji, that actually shipped with a square hood. But there are some flaws with the XE4, and for those of you who have seen my review on it, you will be able to see what those flaws are, the compromises that Fuji made with this camera. And so because I had been looking for a camera that can be my travel camera, my family camera, and I wanted something that I could take into any environment and have. And so part of me wanting to switch is I wanted to have a separate camera kit for travel, vacation, family stuff, and then a separate professional kit. I had the XS10, and it was like my B camera for my professional kit, but I used it for family and stuff like that. And I went to the park with my family, had it on the monopod, had my son in my arms, was going to take a photo on the timer. Strong gust of wind came, blew the camera over, broke the mount. broke the lens that was attached to it. And so it was at that point that I was like, hey, I really need to separate my work gear from my personal gear. And I thought about doing it with Fujifilm, and to be honest, I'm really tired of waiting. Like, I've been waiting so long, for the X Summit, and I know, there's supply chain issues, so who knows when the XH2 will come out. They're supposed to be announcing the XH2S and not the 2 that's going to have the higher megapixel sensor. And so, I'm really just kind of tired of waiting. Plus, I don't really want to get into like my gripe with like some of the lenses and things like that. So anyway, nevertheless, I said I'm not going to do, this particular camera for a travel kit or family camera, because one, it doesn't have a built-in flash, and that's kind of like my biggest thing. I want it to have a built-in flash. I love that the screen articulates all the way up on it. This isn't really meant to be a review, but there was really some criteria that I wanted. So flip screen, built-in flash. I think that's really it. Flip screen and the built-in flash. And so, like I said, I had the XS10, but to be honest, the camera, I wanted also something that would inspire me to shoot. And the XS10 is kind of the opposite of that. I feel like the rangefinder design really speaks to, it just kind of speaks to me. It just kind of makes me want to go out and shoot. And I didn't really get that from the XS10, even though it had the built-in flash. Also, I don't like that the screen flips out to fully articulate. I'd rather it just flip straight up. But nevertheless, the XE4 is not the camera that was going to cut it for me, or the XS10. And again, this is like kind of like part of my gripe, with Fujifilm. So I had picked up the X70, and in theory, this camera is everything that I want, but it's old. No classic negative, so I can't do any of like the newer film simulations, which I could get past that. It has a flip up screen like I like, it has a built-in flash that I like, but the autofocus is dated. I mean, the camera I think came out in 2014, don't quote me on that. So the autofocus is slow. I have a toddler. I could never use this in, continuous focus like I could one of the newer Fujifilm cameras. And so for that, it just doesn't really cut it, especially in low light. And I feel like the image processor, in low light, the photos come out kind of waxy. The skin looks a little bit waxy. So Fuji, I really, really wish that you would give us a new X70, call it a Mark II, call it a X80, whatever you want. Keep the 18mm lens on it. It could still be 2.8. I wouldn't be mad at it. I think honestly though, they don't make, part of the reason why they're able to make this camera so tiny is because it uses the older battery. It's not as thick as like the NP95 battery that Fuji has in like the XE4. So if you have to make the body bigger, they could make this maybe an 18 f2 instead of it being a 2.8. But since it has a flash, I could live with the 2.8. Part of why, the XE4, pairing it with that 27mm at 2.8, my gripe is I don't have a flash with it. Plus, I don't really like the 40mm. I definitely love 28 full frame equivalent, but I can't win them all. So this camera is for sale. If you want to buy it, let me know. The X70 is also for sale. But the camera that I'm going to be keeping with Fujifilm, because this I will say, I will always have at least one Fujifilm camera. It's just not going to be interchangeable lenses. So X100V, these are pretty much back ordered everywhere. But I was able to find one, and I had it before back in 2020. it hits enough things for me. 35 millimeter, I can live with. It's not 28, I can live with it. But it has the built-in flash. It's kind of the biggest thing. It's weather sealed, which I don't really care about that much, but if I'm out with family and it happens to rain, I don't want to, go into panic mode. No, the screen does not flip all the way up and around. That's my only gripe. 35 is wide enough though. The face detect is good enough where I could just do selfies with family, with my son, with my wife, without really needing to see the screen. So it's a compromise. I'll take it. I'd love an X80 Mark II. I'm probably not going to get it. Anyway, let's talk about, what I'm switching to. Because for those of you who have been watching the channel, 3514, who have been watching the channel, hey, I tried out the Nikon Z6, the very first one I tried out. Also tried out the Z5, that was later on. So I actually tried out the Nikon, or Nikon, however you prefer to say it. I tried out the Nikon Z6 first. Nikon, their cameras are really uninspiring. Their lens design is kind of boring, and I wasn't really digging the colors. Tried out the R6. All the lenses are so expensive that I would really want. They're all super expensive, and I don't know if it was just me, but the colors were. I felt like I was really doing something wrong. I mean, you can go and look at the videos that I made. Maybe I was doing something wrong, but it's just not where it was at. But I mean, I love the ergonomics of the R6, but there's limited third-party lens design, so it just wasn't really a viable option for me. So the R6 went back, then I circled back to Nikon, with the Z5, and it was just pretty much more of the same thing. I didn't really like the button placements on it. The customization, as far as like what you could program, the custom functions, was just all kind of lacking. And so, I ended up sending that one back. All right. I dropped some peanuts on the ground here. But yeah, so ended up sending that back. And, a buddy of mine had a Sony camera that we had met up downtown. He let me try it out. And I was okay, well, I'm going to rent this for myself and see. Uh-oh. Right now, so I don't actually have this many cameras. I'm not recording on the new camera. I'm recording on my wife's ZV-10. Or not ZV-10. I'm recording on her ZV-1. Nice little camera for vlogging and stuff like that. Man, he's gonna love this camera. I love it. But I mean, not camera, lens. But yeah, so wasn't really feeling the Nikon at all. So sent it back. Tried out a Sony. You might be able to guess it. It's the Sony A74. What can I say? I used it. I rented it for an event. The autofocus in general is just phenomenal. To be honest, I rarely, when I had the X-T3, I would rarely take it out of single point. Sometimes I would use zone, confining it to a square, but I would never use it in wide. This, I can use it in wide. I can use it in a zone. I can use it in a flex spot, and then easily override to eye autofocus. It just literally just worked like a dream. I'm digging that, some of these Sony lenses, and even some of the third-party ones actually have aperture rings. So that's part of why I love using Fuji cameras, is because, you get all the manual dials, and my favorite one is the aperture on the lens. This is the 20 millimeter f1.8G. that has an aperture ring, and I love that it's actually declickable. So for video shooters, which I'm trying to get into video a little bit more, it works great. For photography, I can switch it over to click mode and it just works like it should. So A74 20mm 1.8. Also picked up the 35mm 1.4 G Master. When I rented this, I mean, I kind of felt like I think it's Deadshot from Suicide Squad when they let him out of prison and he shot a gun for the first time. It was like I took a picture and I was just like, I just kind of smelled the camera with the lens on it. Great lens. But really, to be honest, the reason why it kind of drew me back to Sony is going to be this next lens. And I didn't actually rent this. So my plan was actually to keep the X-T3 and then incorporate the X-T4. And I was just going to dual wield it. So I was going to do the Sony A74 with the Tamron 28-75. And then on my other hand, I was going to have the X-T3 with the 90mm f2. So that would have given me a 135 equivalent. But what pushed me over the edge to end up selling the Fuji was this lens. And that is this beast, the Tamron 35-150. I just used this lens last weekend at a birthday party, and literally, I mean, it's really the only lens that I need. I could do anything, a wedding, any type of event with this lens. I do have the 20 for anything that I need that's wider than, obviously 35. But most people can shoot whole wedding days with a 35 and an 85. But I still wanted something wider because obviously, with weddings, there's group shots and things like that. So that's why I have the 20. The 35-1.4 is really kind of just going to be a run and gun lens. If I'm just going out to maybe make some content real quick, I don't have to worry about hauling around that Tamron 35-150. But this video is going to come to an end right now. I got the 35-1.4 Fuji, the magic lens, all packed up. I already have the label printed. I'm still going to be, Fujifilm, just with the X100V. And this is like the most gorgeous camera that I think Fuji makes right now. Definitely better looking than anything that, Sony, Nikon, Canon are making. It's up there with the looks of, your Leica cameras and, maybe some old vintage film style cameras. But like I said, I'm still gonna be making, Fuji-ish content. Alright, sorry about that interruption there. My wife's camera, the Sony ZV-1, it overheated and shut off on me. So, but anyway, that's the end of the video. Let me know if y'all want me to do a video, more explicitly outlining, maybe why I left Fujifilm, or like what my thoughts are going forward with the system. I'll probably just do that anyway, because this video has been long enough. But like I said, I'm still kind of Fuji gang, a little bit, but it's primarily back to Sony for everything else. And until next time, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.